Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. It is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. 10 years ago, right now, a search was underway in Lemhi County for this adorable little boy. This is Deorr Kunz, who has been missing 10 years ago tonight. He was 2 years old at the time he vanished. It's crazy to think that he would be 12 and a half right now, nearly 13 this coming December. And tonight, we are taking a look at the case with fresh interviews from law enforcement, from private investigators who have worked on the case, along with statements from the mother, Jessica Mitchell, the father, Deorr Kunz, Vernal Deorr Kunz Sr., and the grandmother, Trina Clegg, who have I've been speaking with over the past few days. So thank you very much for being here. I also want to get to your questions and see if I can answer them. This has been the most mysterious thing I think I've ever covered in nearly 20 years of news. Just something that I, it's just so many questions. But we'll get to it all. We'll try to get to it all. We won't answer the questions, the big questions, but we'll answer some of them. And I want to start off for those of you who are brand new here to kind of set up who we're talking about here. So this is Deorr Kunz, 2 years old, July 9th of 2015. He goes on a camping trip with these four people. There's his mother on screen left. That's Jessica Mitchell. His father, Deorr Kunz, Vernal, we'll call him that tonight just for the sake of confusion or lack of confusion. Same name, but he's Vernal. Next to Vernal on your screen is Robert Walton. He's Deorr's great-grandfather. And next to him is a man named Isaac Renwand, who is friends with Grandpa. So the four of them decide, kind of last minute, that they're going to go on a camping trip. It's a camping site that Robert Walton was familiar with. He'd been to several times over the years. Vernal had never been. I don't know if Isaac had been or not, but how the arrangements went is that Jessica and Vernal went with Deorr in a separate vehicle. Robert and Isaac rode up together. Now, this is a remote campsite. I want to show you where it's at. You see this blue line down here, where I'll put on my little drawing tool. Right here is Idaho Falls, where I'm circling the red. It takes about, well, you can see 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to the actual campsite. You go up I-15, you cut across. Once you get through Mud Lake, you go up through Monteview, up through here. You get up here all the way Lemhi County, and there's Ledor. There's not much in Ledor. There's a stage stop, which I'll show you in a minute. And then once you get here, you turn and you go down this way to the campsite. Part of the road is paved, but the majority is rocky, bumpy road. It is quite a journey, and you really kind of have to know where you're going. At the time, cell phone reception was awful up in this area. It was non-existent. It has improved considerably over the years. I was up there yesterday, and I had cell phone signal most of the places around this campsite. But 10 years ago, that was not the case. So that kind of shows you where the camping site is. They get up there. They leave Idaho Falls July 9th. They get up there late. They go to bed. The next morning, July 10th, they wake up. They have breakfast. Jessica and Vernal go down to the store, the stage stop with little Deorr to pick up some snacks and some other things. They come back to the campsite, and that's when things change. And we'll go through the timeline here over the next little bit. Before we get to that, though, I want to give you kind of I want to take you on a drive. Let's go on a drive tonight up to the campsite and show you what it's like up there with the terrain. You'll see little bits and pieces of former Sheriff Steve Penner in this video that we just recorded yesterday. I'm a little sunburned from being in the sun. And also the new Sheriff John Bennett. But here's a look for you to see just kind of the setup of the campsite. Well, we have just pulled into Ledor, and now we are going to drive up to the Timber Creek campground. The stage stop where Jessica and Vernal say they went to get some items the day that Deorr disappeared. That's right on the main strip. It's the only business that sells stuff here near the campsite. You can get gas, soda, candy, whatever. and then you turn down this side road that we're on right now to head up to the campsite. It's about a 15 to 20 minute drive from here if the weather's good and if the roads are clear. From the road, it's about 8 miles to get to the Timber Creek Reservoir. So we're going to turn down Timber Creek Road here. You can see just how desolate it is out here. In fact, there's no cell phone reception during most of this drive, most of the area. But if you pan out here, you can see there's just miles and miles of vast space, shrubbery. Really, Deorr could be anywhere out there. So we're about 7 miles away from the campsite at this point. You can see the road is pretty bumpy. I don't know if you can see, or the camera might be shaking a little bit. We're going about 20 miles an hour. Can't go much quicker, otherwise you might damage your car. So when Deorr disappeared, ATVs were very helpful in trying to search for him. Same with horses and people on foot. Small type of vehicles, though, wouldn't do well up here. If you drove a passenger type car, you might have issues getting it up here. We're in a medium-sized SUV, and you can see it's still a little bumpy. You wouldn't want to go too fast. Up here, you can see there's a couple of cattle grades that we are going over, and it's just a really remote part of Idaho. Perfect place to go camping, but off the grid. You'd have to really know where you were going if you wanted to try to find the campsite. This is the campsite where Deorr and his family were camping. It obviously is a little bit different now, 10 years later versus back on that day. But over here is where Isaac had set up his tent, kind of near this boulder. Then you have the picnic table with the fire pit here. The SUV, we're told, was parked somewhere in this area. And Grandpa Bob, when Deorr vanished, had a lawn chair set up somewhere in this area. Now, originally, Isaac and Jessica and Vernal decided to go up here to take a look at some fish.
Isaac actually leaves with them.
With the parents.
To show them where to fish.
And then breaks off.
And then breaks off and comes back and ends up down here.
Now, let me show you. The creek is just down this steep hill. Fairly steep. I mean, you could walk down it if you find the right spot. This is a cutoff from the main water creek, which is on the other side. We'll go down there in a minute and show you what it looks like. But let me walk up to where Jessica and Vernal say they went to look at the fish. Okay, now we're about 100 yards away from the picnic table. This is where we're told Jessica and Vernal came to fish or look for fish. When they came out, they realized that their son was gone. They did some searching. Now, Jessica called 911 from this spot, we're told, because she was worried that she couldn't get a cell phone reception down that way. Today, the cell phone reception is much better up here. I have, 3 bars and I can call out, but at that time, you were in a dead zone. She was able to call 911 while Vernal hopped in his truck, went down the path. But that's when he turned back around and came back up here and said, we haven't looked hard enough. And you can overhear him when she's on the phone with 911. You can overhear him you can overhear him in the background talking with her as she is on the phone with dispatch.
14:28, 4 seconds, July 10, 2015.
What's the address of your emergency?
I'm actually camping in Ledor. Just outside of Ledor.
Uh-huh.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
What's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica who?
Mitchell.
How long has he been missing?
About an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Are you by water?
Yes.
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold. John? I need... Do you know which campground you're in? What?
Timber Creek.
Pardon me?
It's Stone Reservoir, Timber Creek.
Stone Reservoir?
Yeah, or Timber Creek.
Hold on. We need search and rescue. Jessica? Jessica?
Yeah.
What's your son's name?
Or
What is it?
your ORR.
What's his first name?
That's his first name. Deorr.
Oh. B-O-R-R?
O-R.
Just O-R-R? Okay. What is he wearing?
He was wearing cowboy boots, a blue pair, like pajama pants, and a camel jacket. And he's got shaggy blonde hair.
How tall is he? Hello?
He is. I'm not exactly sure how. He's about.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your husband calling too?
Like all down where we were camping at, and we can't find him at all.
Okay. Hang on. Do you know how far outside of Leadore you are? What?
It's the turn off right after like the general store and the post office in Leadore, and it's at Timber Creek.
As you're going up over the pass?
If you're in Leadore and you're at the like gas station, you take the street on the left-hand side, right across the street from the gas station, and go straight out that street.
Is it a paved road?
No.
Okay, as you're headed towards Leadore, you take a right on the street across the street from the gas station.
It would be a left.
A left.
Yeah. And there's a sign that says like Timber Creek and
Okay,
stuff like that.
and you're coming like from Idle Falls.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on just a second. She said you take a left on the street just past the gas station as you're coming in from Idle Falls. And it says Timber Creek.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Okay, we need you to stay within cell service. We've got people going on the way.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. And you keep us updated with anything that's going on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Don't go away from cell service.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
From there, the family made their way back down to the picnic table area. That's when search and rescue crews arrived and searched every inch of this campground and the surrounding area. Now today, we're up here and there's tents. You can see there's 5 or 6 different tents here with coolers. There are people camping, enjoying the week. But at the time, the family, Jessica, Vernal, Deorr, Bob, and Isaac, they were the only people here on this particular campsite. There was another camping party up over this hill on the upper campsite, but on that weekend, there weren't as many tents around as there are today. So just down the hill from the campsite, you can see there's a creek. There's actually a fork right here where the water comes together. On the day that Deorr went missing, the water was much higher than it is today. And search and rescue crew members, they got on their hands, on their knees, on their feet, and they actually crawled through the water looking for any sign of Deorr. So you can see behind me, this is the reservoir where the focus of the search was pretty intent those first few days. It's pretty large, it's right above the campsite. The water is pretty clear. In fact, just looking from where we're at, I'm pretty sure you can see the bottom or you can see most of it, so it would be easy to see from the sky. Again, they had divers in there on their hands and on their feet and on their knees. They had poles that they were using to prod into the water. and no sign of Deorr was found inside this reservoir. Now, a few days after Deorr vanished, the dogs, the cadaver dogs, did hit on this reservoir. That's because someone unknowingly dumped a bunch of cremains into the water. Well, they knew they were doing it, but what they didn't know is that a 2-year-old was missing, and that's why the dogs hit on this reservoir early on. But it turns out those were human cremains that a person came forward and said that they dumped some ashes in there, and that it was not, unfortunately, it was not Deorr. Okay, so I hope that gives you kind of a setup of the campsite. I didn't realize just how remote it was till I went up there 10 years ago, and it's a beautiful, beautiful area, but you really are kind of off the map. Now, Deorr disappeared on the 10th. The weekend went by. We got word at East Idaho News. We were a brand new news operation. We got word on the Sunday. So he disappeared on a Friday. We got word on the Sunday. We put up a story the following Monday. A friend of a colleague at the time knew the family and put me in touch with Dad, with Vernal. And I talked to him and said, would you mind coming down and doing an interview about your missing son? And he said, sure, I'll be right there. And so they came down. You can see here, I don't know if you can see that picture. That's them. We had a old conference room. I'm in a suit, and they came in to chat with me about their son's disappearance. Here was that first interview just days after Deorr disappeared. And remember, at the time, this was a missing child. The parents were not suspects. They weren't people of interest. There was a kid who was missing, and the word was out that these kids needed to be found. All right, Deorr, so take us back. Was it Friday?
Yes.
I'm not sure what day it is today.
Today's
Yeah.
Monday. It was Friday.
It was Friday.
Friday at about 2:26 is when was it
It
2:26?
was 2:36 when I called.
It was
Search and
2:36 is when she called, and I was in the truck hauling down to the road to try and get service because I didn't think one bar would get it. So she got very, very lucky. I was blessed that she was able to get service because I didn't want to try and risk getting halfway through my talking to the 911 and have it cut off. So I went down to where I knew I can get a little service about a half mile down the road. We searched after about 20 minutes and in a dead panic, not knowing where he was in such a small area and never being there, I knew I was in trouble. So we decided to call search and rescue, and that's when I drove down. She tried getting a signal out. As soon as I got a hold of them, they told me that she was on the other line with them, and they had our location, and they were on our way. They were amazing. They are amazing, and they still continue to be. Lemhi County Sheriff and Salmon Search and Rescue, you could not ask for a better group of people, volunteers and search and rescue, and just everybody. You couldn't ask for better people. So sincere, so concerned, and everybody was so emotionally attached to this, as anybody would be of a 2-year-old. He's pretty small for his age, but he moves pretty good, and that was our concern. He was right with us. Where it's at is, I thought it would be perfect to go camping there because it's enclosed by walls of mountains, and there's not much space around there that he could go. And our biggest concern was the creek, which was knee deep, few feet wide, but he's a little guy. They finally, yesterday, we were able to put that to rest, and Lemhi County Sheriff, Sheriff Dave, and the rest of the sheriffs have put out that they assured me there is 100% chance that he is not anywhere in that water, around that water. They have torn that creek upside down and in and out. Divers have gone through wetsuits along with the helicopter. That was the world's most advanced search and rescue helicopter, volunteered out of Montana. And those guys were just amazing. The accuracy they had with the night vision ability it has and the heat range it can see. The one guy, I can't remember his name. I've met so many people, so many good people, but his own safety, he was more or less, he was strapped in and he was on the side of that helicopter looking, and he was looking down. I remember them telling me that They asked the search and rescue to go look over because there was an orange insect repellent can, they think, by the bank, and they were dead on. That's what it was. That's how accurate these guys are.
They thought it might have been like a part of a shoe
They might-
or
or
something,
something.
but they said go check that out.
That these guys search miles, so the mile radius they have is, it is a very rocky terrain. It is very open, but it's not, the helicopter that is used to back very deep Montana. It is designed for a lot worse situations than this, and there was not a trace of my son found. There still isn't, but the search is on. That's the hearsay of things has kind of gotten way out of hand. The search is so far has been put on that has been suspended, and that is not entirely sure or true. Sheriff Dave of Lemhi County, I just spoke with him on the phone this morning. He has got horseback riders and trackers up there right now, and very, very advanced professionals. I'll be going up and I've just come down to get any resource I can get to go back up today. What questions did you guys have?
Tell us a little bit about, first of all, how are you guys holding up? I know a lot of people are praying for you. They're concerned about
Friends and
Pretty-
family, and hoping to be
The support
strong for
around
him.
us is what's, I know, keeping me together, because if we didn't have all of our family, the minute I called my mom and she was up there in a matter of hours, and same with the rest of our family, they were just up there around us.
Luckily, a few phone calls is all it took at first. And we had, just as Sheriff Davis said in the news, there was 175 plus people up there in the grid searches, volunteers, professionals, and anybody I called. The service up there is very here, there. It's camping, you know. We're trying to hold up the best we can, but we have hope is the thing. Hope is what keeps it going. Hope is because the search is not over. Search is not done. We will find him. No matter what.
You were in the truck, so was it you that first realized, oh no, Deorr's not here?
No, we both did.
No, we both did.
After 20 minutes of up and down the creek and up and around the camp, and he wasn't there, that's when I got in my pickup truck and drove down the road to try and get some service.
Yeah, especially after screaming his name. We have nicknames for him. No sound of him.
This little
no
boy
crying.
is not. He's a goer and a mover, but he does not go away from his parents. He does not.
Yeah, he's very
So
attached
this
to
is
us.
very unusual.
Very, very unusual, sir.
And we didn't hear people around us. We didn't see anybody.
Have you told them about the EMT bag? That needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I know social media can be a good thing, but it can also
That's
be a bad
that's
thing.
the
We just
one
don't
of the
want
walls we're
anything
going up against.
twisted.
Yeah, we don't want to twist it. So clear up any rumors that you've seen or heard.
We need to,
We've-
we need to talk about that.
One thing that
We
concerned
want to
me,
get to that. What's most of the biggest rumors that are going around is, I mean, I have heard everything from why you would make a rumor that has to do with a 3-year-old is if you're not going to help, please don't. If it's not helpful.
Yeah,
this
just-
is a 2, almost 3-year-old we're talking about. Please help us. But I've heard everything from, I am a truck driver. I've heard everything from my company, it won't let me come home off the road to look for my son. I was there the entire time, and my employer, 4 hours after my son went missing, has been up there day and night, has not slowed down. And that one bothered me, and then they got worse, and they got worse, and they got worse. But that's a handful of bad with a bunch of good. The amount of support is very overwhelming, and it's good.
Are there any rumors that you've seen or anything you want to clear up, Jessica?
somebody at the store in Deorr said, it was one of the ladies that had worked at the store, said that they saw a gentleman and a younger blonde boy matching our description of our son, really filthy, buying candy for him, and he was just bawling in a black truck. That is the only
Here's the problem.
other.
My pickup
he
truck's
drives
black.
a black truck.
As a family, we went down to get a few things.
So it could have been
Earlier,
you.
it was
me,
earlier that day.
but they claim it was at 6 o'clock that evening, and we were search and rescue until what, 3:45?
Yeah, from
We haven't left the camp since 1 o'clock that afternoon, so it's just a lot of hearsay, and
Was anybody camping around you?
that we don't know. I come to find I didn't know the area. and I didn't know, it's very open, but you can't see much. There's a road that goes up and along the top, we're camped underneath the reservoir, basically right below it, and you can go up above the reservoir, and I didn't even know the road was up there. And as I traveled up there myself, I come to find out I can see everything going on in that campsite, but you can't see out. You can't see up, you can't see around, and if anybody comes to the bottom of your campground, you can't even see who they are.
So they could have come into your
They
camp
could have
and
came in and you could never know it. And with the water was not a fast running, it's a creek, but it is quite loud moving through the logs and things like that. So hearing range is not all that far either. So you couldn't hear anybody coming up either.
So he was just kind of playing, and you guys were doing your thing, and then you noticed.
He was playing with. He was playing with Grandpa. He was getting ready for a nap. And I say it was almost. By that time, it was almost 2, and he usually takes his nap. We decided we were going to go a little exploring. He was going to be good with Grandpa by the campfire. We weren't more than probably 50 yards away in 10 minutes. But the time I seen him to the point I figured out he was gone. And I come back up in the creek, and I've actually seen there were some things down by the little minnows and I thought he would just love. So when I come back up to get him, and I yelled over to Grandpa, where's little Deorr? He immediately shocked. He says, he came up to you, because it's such a small area. That's what a lot of people, they don't understand, is they just assume, how could you let your kid out of your sight? This area is pretty well blocked in, and you can see, there's no way you couldn't not see him in what we thought. And in a split second, your whole world is upside down and vanished. There's not a trace found. That's the other reason why this has been called on the news as a suspension, because it is not a suspension, but there's not a single trace of him. This child loses stuff. He's 2, almost 3. Anybody who has a child in that age range knows. They leave trails. They lose stuff.
She was
nothing.
Anything.
There's just nothing. And that's where we're starting to move, is there's a possibility that he may be with somebody, and that's what's giving us hope that it's a bad thing that he will be not with us right now, but it also means that there is a good chance that he is alive and with somebody. So we are trying every aspect we can, any aspect we can.
Is that what your gut tells you, as his
yes.
father?
Yes.
As his father, I believe, and I think after being up there, and a lot of people agree with me, a lot, that he is no longer up the mountain anymore. The searching advances they used and was just very thorough for miles. It wasn't a stone left unturned. There still isn't, and we're going to continue to search. But being his father also, that's where my heart and my gut tell me, but I'm not sure. So that's where I'm asking the public's help. Anything. The Lehigh County Sheriff is who's handling this, but they're not designed for systems quite like this. They've got 2 phone lines, and please be patient. They're doing the best they can, and we all are, and we will find him.
Do you plan to maybe hold a vigil down here? I guess you maybe haven't even thought about it, or do you want the community in Idaho Falls to rally? I mean, I know they don't want a lot of people going up there.
That's what we're not real sure. I don't, yet again, as a father who's very concerned with the whole family, we'll tell you, yes, if we can get the whole state of Idaho up there, we would love to. But in such a small area that has been combed and combed and combed, something may have been missed, but I don't know. I'm going to be getting with the Lehigh County Sheriff and the Salmon Search and Rescue to see what their thoughts on everything is. And trust me, with such a small area, 175 people, there was nowhere to park, nowhere to walk. There was grid searches up from one, and there's ridges on one side of you and the other, and they're not very far apart. And there was all searched, all the way down to the bottom, all the way above the reservoir. The reservoir itself, a lot of people know the place. The reservoir itself isn't but maybe a few feet deep. You can see, if you're up on top, you can see the bottom of the center. If you're looking at the middle of the reservoir, you can see the bottom of it. So everything has been 100% thoroughly checked, but nobody can guarantee me 100%, so I'm going to keep looking.
We'll continue to look until he's found. We don't care how long it takes. We think as many people that have shared the story and continue to share his pictures and things like that, if somebody has him, they'll eventually
Somebody
bring
will
him
come
back.
forward wondering where this child has come from.
with some sort of
And
information.
that may not be the case, but it could be. So that's why we're trying to look at this aspect as well.
And you want people to keep sharing that
Yes.
photo?
Yes,
Keep sharing
please keep
photos,
sharing
keep-
his photo. Please keep him in your mind, your hearts, and your prayers, and just keep your eyes open, please. Social media in general, in public, just keep your eyes open and keep sharing.
Tell me about the blanket.
This is his blanket. He doesn't go anywhere without his blanket, his cup, or his monkey. And all three of them were left at the campground. And
No, all three has to be with him.
Yes.
He will trip over them if he has to, but they are going with him. And this is the first time since he's been born, pretty much, he's been without these things.
Yeah.
And that's why another reason.
Another reason why we're wondering.
Yes, because
And that's
this is
may
the blanket
seem-
that we brought him home in from the hospital. This is what comforts him any and all times.
This is an exact replica of a security blanket for everybody. This is his actual blanket. He does not go anywhere without it. That's our other concern of why.
Yeah.
What
And
would you, should he be out there and happen to see this? What would you say?
We're looking for you, son, and we will find you. And we love you more than anything in the world. You have a lot of people who love you and are looking for you. Buddy will find you.
We'll
Daddy
never
will
stop
find you.
looking until we get you a home.
I've got a 2-year-old, and you guys have been all I've thought about the past 2 days. Is there anything you want to add? Anything we didn't get to?
Just if somebody has him, please don't hurt him. Just bring him home safely to us.
No matter what it
where
takes.
he belongs. Even if you have to just leave him at a store where somebody else will see him and bring him home safely to us.
Just drop him off.
Yeah, just drop him off somewhere
And if
where
that's not the case-
somebody is at so that they can see him and bring him home.
And if that may not be the case, we will search for you and search for you and search for you until we find you. No matter how long it takes, no matter what we got to overcome, we will find you, son.
Now, that night after the interview, Jessica and Vernal went to a vigil that was held for baby Deorr at a local park. The tips started to pour in from people all around the world saying that they had seen Deorr or they knew where he was. None of those tips panned out. And I wanted to speak with both Isaac Renwan and Robert Walton, the other two people who were at the campsite. They resisted. They were hesitant. They did not want to talk. But 6 months later, January of 2016, the sheriff at the time, Lynn Bowerman, named Vernal and Jessica as suspects in the case. He said that they were not being truthful to him, that they were not telling, that they were lying. And he said that Deorr was no longer alive and that these parents knew more than they were saying. Now, there's been 3 sheriffs in this case. Bowerman, who, 9 years ago was no longer sheriff. Steve Penner, who was the chief deputy at the time this happened, he then became sheriff. He retired earlier this year. And now the new sheriff is John Bennett. So Penner is the one that's been involved in all of this since day one. He and Bennett are not calling them suspects. They tell me that they have done interviews with police. They've been cooperative. So they are not going as far as the first sheriff who called the parents suspects. But once he did call them suspects, Isaac decided he wanted to talk. He came down to our building. We sat down for an interview, and here's how that went. What have the last 6-7 months been like for you, Isaac?
Really boring, kind of quiet. Not a whole lot to do in Idle Falls.
What have your thoughts been over the past, I guess, today and yesterday when the sheriff released the new information?
At first, I was kind of sketchy about talking to anybody, but then, the way the social media has been and everything, I thought, if I talk to the police and everything, maybe everything will cool down a little bit. Maybe they'll get closer to solving this case.
Were you surprised that the parents were named as suspects?
Yeah, actually, I kind of was a little bit.
Why is that?
It's just, just because of all the theories and everything that's been going around, it doesn't feel like or seem like anybody knows what's going on.
Well, a lot of people thought that you were involved.
Yeah, that I am aware of.
What would you say to those people that think you somehow had something to do with his disappearance?
I'd say just, You know, a lot of people they don't know me, so the unknown is scary. You know, so what they don't know, people are afraid of. So I just have to say, you know, just because a person looks some way, you shouldn't judge them just because of how they look.
What do you remember what happened up there?
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you remember the last time you saw little Deorr?
No comment.
Okay, but he was up there.
Yes, that he was.
He was up there. You saw him. You know he was there.
Yes.
And after he went missing, what was it like up there? I mean, I'm sure that all the search and rescue crews showed up to look for him, and then the volunteers showed up. Did you think he'd be found quickly and you'd be able to head on home?
That's what I was figuring, that he'd be found, yes.
And then when he wasn't, and days turned into weeks, into months, what went through your mind?
I thought maybe he was abducted, or I didn't really know what to think.
Mm-hmm. But you had nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Do you know anything as far as Robert Walton, the grandfather?
All I can say about Robert Walton is he's always been a good friend to me. We've gone fishing on fishing trips many occasions, camping, so.
And you guys met before all of this took place, right?
That's correct.
And are you still friends today?
I haven't heard from Walton all winter long.
Mm. Have you heard how his health's doing? We heard it's not doing very well.
That's what I've heard. I heard he's on oxygen, so.
Do you think that how has this experience kind of changed your life? Has it?
A little. I'm a little bit more, you know, I'm trying to be a little bit more skeptical about what's going on around me and the public. It's just people can change at the blink of an eye, and you don't even realize until it's too late.
Did you lose any friends over this?
I'm sure I have, but right at this point, I'm not sure who. That's something I'm going to have to figure out down the road.
Do you have any idea where Deorr could be?
I do not.
I guess you're hoping he's found.
Yes, I am.
A lot of people have these theories that you, like I said, that you had something to do with it, that you're the man behind this.
You know, I generally try to be nice to everybody, try to be a good guy, try to help people out as much as I possibly can. You know, if somebody's in a bind and they need a place to stay for a day or a couple of days, I try helping people out with that too. I fix bicycles and on the side, and I give them away, and so I generally just try to be a good person to everybody.
So we're hearing from you for the first time. Is there a reason you've wanted to be quiet?
It was mostly just because of how the social media was reacting, and my attorney, my lawyer, always said that might be better not to say anything until they know exactly what's going on in the case.
Any idea where it goes from here?
Hopefully they can. I'm gathering they'll be able to solve this case within, you know, the next week, the next month, and we can all put this behind us and move on.
Are Jessica and Deorr your friends? Did you know them before all this?
No, I did not.
And so you really only spent a couple hours with them once you got up there?
More like a couple days.
Couple days, all right.
Where were you when you first heard that someone was missing? Like, what were you doing? And like, what was going through your mind, like, as soon as you heard that?
Were you fishing?
Was I fishing?
Yeah, were you downstream when you heard?
Yeah, I'm not supposed to disclose any information still. I've been asked not to.
I guess that will all come out in court.
Exactly.
How has it been knowing in your mind what you know, what police have told you, and not being able to tell anyone? I mean, have you kind of been saying, why is everybody picking on me?
I felt that kind of way, and then I thought too, it's just because the way the media sees it and everything, looks like I haven't been cooperative with the police, and they don't know what's going on.
But that's not true, you're saying?
Right.
If Deorr and Jessica were arrested today, what would you say?
I said I'd really be surprised, because I wouldn't think someone, people would do, somebody like those two would do something like that,
So all along, you thought they didn't really have anything to do with it either.
Right, I thought maybe, he got abducted or a wolf maybe or something might have drug him off. That's what my opinion is.
Did they ask you to have a story? Did Deorr Jessica coach you?
No, they did not.
So they just came back and said he's missing. Search and rescue shows up, and you're doing your thing. Did we miss anything? Anything you want to say?
No, there's nothing else that I would like to say. I'm good.
So that was in January of 2016. There were certain topics Isaac didn't want to talk about. I reached out to him a few days ago, asked him if he would do another interview with me now. He declined. He said he's trying to put this behind him. We discussed briefly on the phone some things, but that was it. So he had no further comment to talk about now, 10 years later. So parents are named suspects. They're never charged. They're never taken into custody. They end up splitting up and going their separate ways. In the course of all of this, over the past decade, 3 separate private investigators have looked at this case. The first one's a guy named Frank Vilt out of Montpelier, Bear Lake, Idaho. He passed away a few years ago. But when he took on the case, he told me that he believed that Deorr was abducted. But after a few months, he changed his tune and said that the parents were lying, they were not being truthful, and he left the case. The next private investigator was Philip Klein. Klein is based in Texas. I've interviewed him over the years. You probably, if you followed the case, you've heard what he said. He did an investigation. He interviewed all the players, all the people involved, went up to the campsite numerous times. He has come out and said, and still to this day, you'll hear in a moment, believes that Jessica and Vernal had something to do with their son's disappearance, but that it was an accident. But he still says they know more than they're saying. The third private investigator is David Marshburn. Now, he is currently still working with the family. His theory is different than the previous 2 PIs. Marshburn says that Isaac had something to do with the disappearance and the death of baby Deorr. Tonight, you will not hear from Vilt. As I mentioned, he is passed away. But you will hear from Philip Klein, and you will hear from David Marshburn. These are not real long interviews. We didn't go super in depth. I'm sure each of these gentlemen, we could have talked for hours as they've investigated this. This is more to give you somewhat of an idea as far as what they found in their investigation. Before we get to that really quick, though, I want to show you this picture. Back in 2017, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released this photo of Deorr. It's an age progression photo. And this is what Deorr would have looked like when he was 4, or not what he would have for sure, but likely what he could look like. They take a photograph of when he disappeared. They take photos of his parents and they put them together. They meld them together. And this is what he could have looked like back in 2017. It is time they do another one. The family needs to submit photos to them and they can put another one together. But this is what he would have looked like at 4. And as I mentioned earlier, he now would be 12. So that is the age progression photos. Now, I want to get to the interview with Philip Klein and then the interview with the David Marshburn. Today, what do you believe happened to baby Deorr?
Well, as you know, we have developed more information. We've had a few more witnesses talk. I am coming to Idaho in August. I'll be up there. Here's what we believe based upon the evidence at this point. If you remember, the evidence stopped where the dog found the area that it hit on. We believe that was a holding area. So what we believe is the night before there was an accident. Again, I'll say it to you again, Nate, and I've said it 100 times to you. I don't believe at all that this was an intentional homicide. I just don't. I believe that there was an accident up there with the truck rolling over the child. I believe that the blue cooler that's still missing even today was used to dispose of Deorr's body. We believe it was taken down to the hill at the time of the 911 call during that time period, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, or maybe even it was done when they went down to go get the Swedish fish and all the other big story they put out over at the convenience store. And we believe the cooler was put into a dumpster. That dumpster was put into a dumpster truck, and that truck went over to a landfill, and it was dumped. So what we're in the process of doing now is the process of elimination. As you know, what that'll entail, we'll have to bring in some track hose. We'll have to dig out the area to either prove what our evidence shows is true or to disprove what our evidence shows. I still believe that the parents are suspects with information. That is what we believe based upon evidence. We have been very silent about our work up there, simply because it was so acrimonious up there. Everybody had an idea, everybody had a theory, but the bottom line is something happened up on top of that mountain on that day or the evening before when they first got there.
You've said from nearly the beginning that you believe the parents were involved. What are your thoughts about Grandpa Bob and Isaac?
I think Bob knew, but Bob was sworn to secrecy. Isaac, even to today, we're 10 years down the line, his story has not changed. I mean, if you sit down and listen to this man, his story is boom, 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 boom. I know where I was. I know what I did. I saw her down there. I saw the panic look. I mean, Isaac has been, as a witness goes, somebody that has never changed his story. Then you go to the parents. I can't tell you how many stories we've gotten out of the parents. I mean, I just can't. And
Do you
so,
think Deorr will ever be found?
yeah, I
You
think
do.
I think that if our evidence proves to show what happened with physical evidence, okay, so we have narrative evidence, we're looking for physical evidence, his remains will be in that cooler.
Mm. That isn't anywhere near the campsite at this point.
Yeah, no, and we're not going to release the name of the dump site simply because we don't want a bunch of looky-loos going down there bothering those people. They're fixing to get bothered about as much as they need to be bothered with track hose coming in, digging out certain areas based upon date and time. That's the greatest thing about that area over there is where the dump is. You know, they keep track. You know, they put the trash down and then they put the dirt immediately over it and pack it down. Another layer of trash down, and what they do is they have a computer system where on that date, on that time, whoever was assigned to pick up that trash picked up the trash and took it to the dump, and then they have an assigned dump area which they dump. So we feel like we know in that area where the disposal would have been.
It's amazing. It seems like, months or even sometimes years will go by and then the case will suddenly, pop back up with theories and whatnot. One of the theories has been that Deorr wasn't even at the campsite. How do you address that?
He was there. He was there. Grandpa gave us that information. Grandpa was very, very, very articulate about everything before the trip and during the trip. Okay? They were very articulate about that. And consequently, most of the stories matched other than a few little, we stopped to get pizza over on the highway. We talked to the pizza guy. I really don't remember that. Well, let me look at your cameras. Well, where the lies begin is right after at the gas station where they say they picked up pizza and Cokes. If you're picking up pizza and Cokes, why would you get over to Deorr and go get something to eat? I mean, that's one of the big faux pas in this case. We've never released that before.
Was that on the way, Philip, that they said they stopped for pizza and Coke?
Yep.
On the way up to the campsite the night before?
On the way to Deorr. Yep.
Okay.
And that kind of, and we've never really released that before, but that's all in the past now. We can release a lot of this stuff now. And so that kind of had all 9 investigators going, what? Okay, you had pizza and Coke, and then what? 30, 45 minutes down the line through the valley and up the hill, and there's Deorr. Uh, uh, you're stopping because you're hungry and you're going to get something to eat, and everybody's super hungry. That was one of their big stories, was that, oh, we were so hungry, so we were going to stop. And well, why would you stop then? I mean, was the pizza a snack? Well, how much pizza did you buy? We did find the receipt too, and the receipt was two pizzas were bought.
Yeah.
Bought pizza. So, and then of course we get to the aftermath of everything. Again, back down at the down there at, I believe it's called the stage stop or the stop, down there, and all these stories about Deorr taking, or Fernal taking little Deorr and putting him on the truck, and going back to see the beer truck man, and the beer truck guys are like, no, that never happened. We never saw him, and we never saw his child. And then, by the way, was there a big 18-wheeler sitting out there? No, there's never an 18-wheeler. So all these stories that they tried to fluff up to make themselves feel better and to make you and me believe in what they were saying, and especially the clerk at the store. When we got the receipts and we got the videos, and you know, the stuff about the tampons that she needed, but yet it wasn't bought till the second purchase. They never told us there were two purchases. They always told us there was one purchase, never two. We asked the question to them. We got it on video. What purchase? Oh, well, it was only one purchase. Okay. Why do we have receipts for two purchases? And of course, then they go ash and white and go, oh, well, first were for the candies, and the second one was for the tampon and the adult stuff. And then you go, but there's candies on the adult stuff. Well, we might have forgotten something.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, we don't understand why. Look, and of course, the most shocking one was the one at where they went to go get green diesel for the truck. And so, we talked to that young man, and he was a great witness. He said, I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay, tell us what's going on. And he said, well, no, I filled it up, but boy, they tried to keep me talking. They kept me busy. I said, well, did you see the child's chair behind the mama? Yeah. Was there anybody in it? No.
And that was on the second day, right, that they were there?
Second day.
Yeah.
That's when we knew we had the timeline set, where we knew he went up, right? We knew he went up, but we don't have him past going up to the top of the mountain. And that's why we think she broke down with Caroline and pointed to the mountain and said, that's where we took him. That's where he is.
Jessica said that.
Yeah. And that's why. And so Jessica, I think, had just had enough.
So 10 years later now, how does this thing get solved?
Well, where we go now is we're going to come up there. We're going to get with the people that own the dump site. We're going to what we call square it out. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create squares of areas that dump truck dumped on that certain weekend, on that certain day. Actually, I think it was actually a day and a half later, when the holiday was over and they came to dump the dumpsters. And then we're going to lay that out, and then we'll start an excavation project. How deep do we have to go? We don't know. I've run a Starlink over the dump site, took a look at it. We did some squares out on our computers. And I don't think it's going to be as hard as everybody thinks it's going to be. I found bodies in dumps that were way harder than this. Like, I'm talking 20, 30 feet down in the ground, where we had to bring in a big excavator and bring out, and find what we need that way. I kind of think that that's the next huge step, getting up there, meeting the new sheriff, introducing ourselves. I don't know how many people will go up there yet. We haven't made that decision yet. But I know it'll be me and at least 2 or 3 others. And then we'll go through. The evidentiary side, I think, is over. I think the evidentiary side is over. His body was not up there. This gentleman that brought his dogs up there, I don't know him. I have a rule. I never talk bad about other investigators, whether it's law enforcement or private investigators, unless they've committed a crime. I don't see him running up there, but then again, we've come up there 2 or 3 other times and we haven't told anybody in the last since COVID.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't told anybody, but we've come up there. You get recognized in a hamburger joint, or you get recognized at a gas station or something. Somebody will walk up to you and say, "How's the case going?" And you just kind of, "How'd you know it was me?" I said, "Well, we see you." So it's one of those things that we've done. And so now I'm going to rule this out. But we're in the period of rules. We've got our evidence. We know where it is. The only other chance it could be, because I'm telling you that mountainside has been skewered. We have been up there a mile down, a mile up, a mile over, a mile. I mean, it's just no animals did this. Again, I'm going to say it to the general public. No animals did this. Okay. 2, Deorr did not just wander off and somebody pick him up and now he's out there. There's no evidence to that fact based upon what the other campers have said, 1. 2, based upon the testimony of the other of the parents, right? Number 3, based upon what Isaac has told us, again, never changing his story. He's the only one that didn't change his story. And of course, what Grandpa told us.
Yeah.
And Grandpa was very, very, very specific with us. And the thing that scared the hell out of all of us is when he shrugged his shoulders and said, "Oh, he was just a 2-year-old. They can go in the cabin and make another one. What's done is done." And we all just, oh my God, who talks like that? And
Philip,
so,
thank you. Good luck next month. So those are Philip Klein's words. Now, remember, private investigators don't have any authority to charge people, to arrest people. That's up to law enforcement. Some work better with law enforcement than others. Some don't work with law enforcement at all. I'm not saying anything about these 2 guys. I'm just saying that in general, private investigators have solved cases. Don't get me wrong. They have across the country. Some are really good. Some aren't so good. But that's Philip Klein's view. Now, this next PI, David Marshburn, has a completely different point of view. Here's what he thinks. Well, David, thank you for being here. I want to jump right to it. What do you think happened to baby Deorr?
I think what happened is, well, it's a whole lot more technical than and difficult to say what happened to him. But when you look at all the aspects of everything, a lot of people are pointing the fingers at mom, dad. But if you get right down to it, the odd picture, if you will, the odd scenario or the odd thing in this whole issue is Isaac. Isaac is, I believe Isaac's the one that had something to do with little baby Deorr's disappearance.
And any idea if that was some sort of accident or some sort of something that was done on purpose based on your investigation?
It's more of looking into the mind of the person. I believe Isaac and the grandfather had been friends for a long time, and Isaac had seen a lot of images of Jessica, the family, and then I think in Isaac's mind he had some type of image that he could be with Jessica. He liked Jessica and was infatuated with her, and I believe that he thought this was an opportunity. If I get rid of the child, then I can have Jessica. That gets rid of Vernal, that gets rid of the child, and I can have Jessica.
Now, you've been up there to the campsite, and you brought your dogs up there too. I think you've been up there a few times, haven't you?
I've been up there 5 times.
5 times. Has anything stuck out to you? Anything, brought to your attention?
Yeah. The first time we went, the dogs alerted on a certain area. And what's strange about that is we didn't find anything at that point in time. So the sheriff asked us, we had to leave. They would deal with it. They would come in and search later for that area. But what's interesting in that is Isaac puts himself there, and the family or Jessica had seen Isaac in that area for a long time, or for a short, brief time, but Isaac puts himself there for a long time,
Where the dogs hit.
where the dogs hit. And see, when baby Deorr goes missing, what is the other thing that is missing in this whole ordeal is Isaac. Isaac and baby Deorr are both missing for a long period of time. So the last time we went was kind of a strange thing, but we decided to go outside the scope of where the dogs alerted, and we went up on top of the mountain, and there we found an old jacket. The jacket didn't have any pockets in it, so there wouldn't be any food in the pockets or anything. Something had to be wrapped up in this jacket in order for animals to scratch and tear at it and bite at it. And from what I know from going into school and all, it did appear to have a lot of blood stains on it.
And was it a child's jacket or like a man's jacket, adult jacket?
It it's like a fleece pullover, a large pullover jacket that you couldn't really tell because it was torn to shreds, and it didn't have any labels on it. So you couldn't really tell what size, and plus it's been out in the weather, so it's shrinkage and everything else. It wasn't a child's, it was an adult's. And Jessica did make comments about when she did see Isaac that it appeared that he was carrying a two-tone tackle box. And this jacket appears to be a two-tone jacket, fleece over pullover.
Okay, so you said that was on top of the mountain. For people that aren't familiar, how far is the top of the mountain from the campsite?
Um,
Like,
well,
could you walk it?
oh, you can walk it. It's difficult for a person to walk it. My canines can run it, but for a person, it's difficult. And if you want to know my opinion of what I feel like had transpired, I feel like that Isaac could have gotten rid of the child in this jacket, put it somewhere. Animals came back that night, got it, and toted it right up the mountain. It just happened to fall out of the jacket, and they kept on going. But see, that mountain, when you climb up that mountain, there's a top flat area, and it is beautiful. But on the backside of this mountain, it is steep. It is like straight down. You can't have dogs on that side of the mountain. So if you're going to find anything, it's going to be very, very difficult in that terrain on the backside of that mountain where it would have been continued to be carried.
So do you think we'll ever find Deorr?
We can. And the only way we're going to be able to do this is to have so many volunteers and supporters and people out there on foot and just track every inch of that campground from the campground all the way up the mountain to the backside of the mountain. Now, that seems like a big feat, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be done if people are willing to come together on a certain time and just do it. And I believe we can find something of him. Now, let's go back to now. The jacket thing is just a theory, just a thought of mine, just from what I've seen and everything. But let's say he was buried down at the bottom of where the campground is. Let's just say he was buried and just left there. The difficult thing for canines to do is smell through manure, animal feces, and with this much time going by, a canine could be the best trained canine in the world could be standing right on top of it. It could be buried 2 or 3 feet, and the dog could miss it because it's been so long. There's very little odor that's going to be there, and ground penetrating radar is going to be difficult because that ground is constantly settling. So, in all, you either A, search all the property inch by inch with a bunch of volunteers or people and find something on top of the ground where the animal has grabbed it and took off with it, which the good option one. Or number two, you're going to have to go in there with equipment and dig up the entire area to
Yeah.
get this boy. And and people say, well, why don't they just do that? Well, it's a huge area. It
Right.
is a large area.
Right. Yeah. It's massive.
And I'll tell you, the best thing for this case that I have seen that's come out of this case, you did an interview with Isaac.
Mhm.
And without that, I wouldn't have my thoughts and opinions. I'd be really at a blank. But after watching those interviews, which was one of the best things ever, you can get, and people that profile other individuals, they see what I see. And just the ordinary person watching that says, oh, well, he's telling the truth. No, he's not. I've had Isaac and the dad, Vernal, in front of each other, talking to one another. Eventually, it got almost to a screaming match until I had to separate them and we left.
Mm.
So there's a lot more to this than the average people out there. I've never spoke about what has transpired or what's going on, and I kind of feel bad not to, but there again, to hold some of the integrity of the case, you just gotta bite your tongue. And I just tell people over and over, it's not the parents. It's not the parents. And for two people like them that are young, separated, not on good terms, a lot of times, the secret would have come out if it was them.
So you don't think the parents had anything to do with it and that they don't know any more than what they've already said?
No. And if people would have known, see, I've always had the question, well, Vernal, if Jessica didn't do it because she was over there on the island and you walk up, you know you didn't do it. Why didn't you go after Grandpa? Why didn't you go after Isaac? And Vernal said, I did. I said, well, why didn't that hit the media? Why didn't anybody speak of this, how you went after Isaac and jerked him up and got separated by the marshals or law enforcement at that time? He said, nobody spoke of it. And that's the thing. Emotions speak louder than anything. If you watch the people, you can see who's got guilt and who doesn't have guilt. And I can tell you, Jessica and Vernal, they're not guilty in this whole ordeal.
Do you think that Grandpa Bob knew more before he passed, David?
No, the thing about Grandpa, he was easy and laid back, and I could see where Grandpa fell asleep, and he wakes up and he's got guilt. Child's gone. He was supposed to watch him, and Bob could fall asleep at a drop of a hat. I mean, you could be sitting there talking to him, and he'd fall asleep on you. And I don't, um, in his mind, I believe he knew something of his friend, but yet again, he's the one that brought the friend. So he had that guilt. And you could read that on his face, but as far as him knowing exactly, I don't believe he knew anything.
Mm. All right. Well, here we are 10 years later. Anything that you want to add?
Keep doing what you're doing. Do the interviews. Give everybody, like when y'all did y'all's interviews, you interviewed mom, dad, you interviewed Isaac, grandpa, all these people. When you interview all of them, you can come to a conclusion. But when you only go after mom, dad, and sporadic people, not everyone that's involved, that becomes a problem. So I do want to say thank you for doing what you have done for this case. It's just now it's gotten to the point where we need a lot of people, maybe have a some kind of deal where everybody goes up there. We all have this big meeting all over the country to the campsite, and let's all participate in trying to find and search for this boy.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
I'd love to interview all of them again, David. A lot of them aren't talking. They don't, want anything to do with it, but I appreciate you, sharing your thoughts. And
Well, I'll tell you, Jessica and Vernal are leery because they got slammed so hard in this whole ordeal, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them for not wanting to do interviews and all. And they would if they got the fair shake of, hey, listen to what I'm asking you to do. Listen to what I'm saying. I don't know. And it's hard for people to understand why, as a parent, would you not know what happened to your child? Well, some things happen. And when you have this whole scenario, I mean, I can understand their leeriness of doing interviews, but I encouraged them to try to, and I'll be there with them if they want to do them. It's just they get so many fingers pointed at them. They get death threats on them. They get accused constantly, and I can understand the pressure on them. And everybody just doesn't know what really happened on that mountain when the child went missing, and how angry Bernal and Jessica were at Grandpa and Isaac, but yet no one shared those emotions that happened up there and the arguments that happened up there. And maybe I've given a little insight about it, but just a little 5-minute video, can't get everyone into what's really going on,
Yep.
but we try.
Yeah.
We really try.
So that is what David Marshburn thinks. Now, again, Isaac has not been charged. I asked the sheriff about the shirt that was mentioned in there, and he says that they have no comment on it, and that everything that has been tested, evidence that has been tested, nothing has come back solid. And so it makes me think that that they tested this and that nothing came back. But we'll see. And now we'll go from the private investigators to the law enforcement investigators. I went up to the campground, as I mentioned yesterday, sat down with Sheriff Penner, former Sheriff Penner, and Sheriff Bennett, John Bennett, and here is what they said about the case. So what is it like coming back here today?
Yeah, it's definitely ongoing. It's been a long spell of coming back here. As far as
It's a familiar place for me.
We were talking before, around 100 times. You think you've been up here over the years?
Somewhere between 50 and 100.
Yeah. For those people that aren't familiar with the story, can we just do a brief overview of what happened July 10th, 2015 here?
Well, obviously we got a call into the dispatch saying that there was a missing 2-year-old at this location. And then so we sent resources up here to start looking.
And it was here at this actual site where we're sitting?
Where he went missing from.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
And what was the layout as far as tents versus SUVs? Was there a camper? Like how kind of was the area set up?
So there was a camper right over here, and then there was a tent kind of behind you, and there was a different table at that time, and it sat over kind of more over here, or actually more right here.
There's a creek just down the hill right here. So was that kind of an area of focus in those early hours and days?
Yeah, we searched that real intently. It's not very deep, but we put divers in it, just on their bellies, and then sawed out all the log jams and brush piles and things like that from down at the fence all the way up to the reservoir.
Deorr is there with 4 adults, and what was their story about when he disappeared?
They had mom and dad and Deorr had gone to town, and then they came back, and they left him and Deorr in the care of grandfather, and they went fishing for a little bit, and then came back, and he was gone.
And Grandpa said
he thought that he was with them.
And Isaac said
Isaac was off in the creek over here
fishing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, did anything sound suspicious?
In the beginning, it seemed like a typical, lost child.
So you guys then go all out as far as search efforts
Mm-hmm.
within those first few days. Sheriff, can you tell me a little bit about that as far as the resources that were brought up here?
Yeah, initially the first day there was quite a few resources. They actually, we brought the city's canine up here, and that dog was a search dog or a scent dog too, and I think they ran the dog that initial day in this general area as well as across the creek and up the road. There's a reservoir just above us here, maybe not less than a quarter mile. So there was a little bit of focus on that water as well.
The helicopter.
That initial day, that initial afternoon or evening, by the time we got resources on site, we had a helicopter. Two Bear Air was called in, which they're out of, is it Kalispell?
Yeah.
Two Bears out of Kalispell, and they basically have a helicopter with FLIR, which is, they can see at night. They can see heat signatures at night and stuff. So when they got here, they landed. We coordinated with them, and then they flew this whole general area around this camp area along the road or along the reservoir, and those results, were negative that night. I can't remember. I think they flew back to town and stayed in Salmon Field, and then I think they came out the next day and did some more flying, and then that resource was kind of exhausted, so they were released. The next day there was a lot more resources, a lot more personnel on site. We brought in search and rescue personnel, divers. We put divers in the reservoir up above. I want to say there's a half dozen guys that dove. I was one of the divers that day, and we used scuba gear and dove that. It's pretty shallow, and it had a lot of growth in it, so that was kind of a negative result thing too as well. From the air, the helicopter could see a lot of that reservoir, and they could see to the bottom of basically it's pretty shallow, so they could see, the into the depth, and they never turned up anything with that as far as flying over it as well as us diving it. Personnel in the creek, we focused a lot on the creek and the water at that time just because the creek was quite a bit higher than it is now, and that was kind of a focal point because of the location of where the creek is with the campground and where we were told they had been. And then personnel that day too as well. Into the next day there was well over 200 people here, and I think it was that third day I helped search and rescue coordinate grid search efforts from basically the reservoir, around the reservoir, and all the way down through here. And there was enough people to basically, you could hold hands and cover a really good stretch. So
they're just walking step by step.
We ran a line walking step by step, and I mean literally, hand hold apart. And then at the end of the line, that guy on the end of the line flagged as he went with ribbon, and then that's where we came back, and our second chain, basically the search continued, and it widened after we made our first run. And our grid search went from this location, up at the reservoir, all the way down through here, and all the way down to where the cattle guard is coming in, and it's a mile or two down there, I think.
And nothing.
And there was nothing, no clues, no signs of anything in relation to Deorr as far as to go on. So we just continued our search efforts until they were exhausted, obviously.
So
we had people on horseback, on the high ridges. We had a lot of people out here.
Yeah, I remember.
People from
horses.
Idaho Falls family drove up, just people that heard about it, locals, Deorr, just search and rescue personnel from all over, law enforcement, obviously.
Given that the intense search, how plausible is it that a 2-year-old in oversized cowboy boots could make it outside of the perimeter on his own where you searched?
It's possible.
There's always that possibility or that chance. Yeah, we can't rule it out for sure. Yeah, he could be further than our perimeter, but I guess in a radius, I think what did our radius end up being, Steve? 5 miles?
Initially, I think it was
Then this was
about 2.5.
The search radius. It was initially 2.5,
And
and then it extended.
Yeah, we went on down further over the years, searching other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing about the boots is one of the things of information that we had was a lot of times, and this was from independent people, his boots would come off and he'd pack them. He'd put one under each arm and he'd go.
So if the boots came off, he could have.
Yeah,
Initially, we
Yeah.
expected to
Yeah,
find
and that
find a
came
clue
from
from Deorr, and it was
independent.
kind of family members and those people as well. The boots were thought to, hey, long range, they tended to fall off, as well as the information we were given. You know, he was still in diapers, and he had an oversized, large, dirty diaper on at the time, so they figured, that could slow him up. So there were those kind of things we were looking for too, but we never did turn up anything in relation to those.
So do you think he was up here?
I do. Yes.
I do too. I think, with 4 people, 4 family members, and again over the years, I think something would have materialized by now in 10 years, as far as to if he wasn't
Had
up
he not
here.
been
A
up
lot
here.
of people speculate, he wasn't there, but when you have, Grandpa, Deorr's great grandpa, is one witness, puts him here that he was in this campground, and hey, he was walking that way last time Grandpa saw him. Mom and Dad claimed to have walked up the creek 100 yards to drop into the creek to look and see where the fishing was, and somewhere between where Grandpa was sitting in a lawn chair and where the parents walked up to the end of this campground, which is roughly 100 yards, is the location they claim that he was last seen in.
So Grandpa's here, kind of where we're sitting. Parents are up there 100 yards.
Yeah.
Isaac's down here over the little hill fishing.
Yep. I recall Grandpa sitting in lawn chairs kind of out in
here.
front of the vehicles, yep, and he was sitting at their cook site. They had a table set up and some other things, and he was sitting in a lawn chair, and he was on oxygen. He had an oxygen bottle close to his chair and a nasal cannula, so he wasn't really that mobile as far as getting up and leaving where he was. I mean, he could, obviously, but...
And he could have fallen asleep.
Exactly. That we
could
can
have.
speculate that he took a nap, or he was taking a nap, or he fell asleep, or, it just wasn't... He's just enjoying the outdoors, obviously, sitting in his lawn chair.
So at what point does it become elevated to maybe more than the child walked away to maybe there was something nefarious or suspicious?
Well, you have to look at everything, and I'm not, sure. It's just a matter of looking at, well, we didn't find him. You have to consider all the possibilities, I guess. And
Probably the lack of, as far as there weren't any really leads developed from day 1, day 2, day 3. It was, at that point you start looking back at the time frame and the time before they were here, leading up to it, and they traveled to the store, and obviously we'd backtrack that and collaborated. But
Did you have proof they were at the store?
Yeah, we did. Multiple witnesses, as well as what we were told. They went there to get fuel. The actual stage stop store was out of diesel, so they'd went up. They were told to go up the street, and the welding shop, basically Peterson Welding in Leadore, is another place. They have a storage tank with diesel, and in times when they're out of fuel, they can go there and buy fuel as well.
And they went there
And they'd ended up going there for fuel, is what we were told.
and then came back.
And then, from there they returned.
Did the stories match from what the parents said versus Grandpa Bob versus Isaac?
They did. Grandpa Bob and Isaac were already here, so they were already here camping, and they stayed here. And the story we were told, it was that Jessica, Mom, Vernal, Dad, and Deorr went to town. They went to town to get some fuel and some other things, obviously at the grocery store, and then returned.
So the previous sheriff named them suspects. I don't think you ever went that far.
No.
Persons of interest?
They're always, well, there's the 4 people here where he's last seen, so obviously.
Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean,
yeah.
that's
They're all
kind
persons
of,
At the end of the day,
yeah.
they were here, so they're definitely persons of interest.
Have they been cooperative over the years?
Yeah.
To my knowledge, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't
They
really a
have
part
been.
of all of the investigation, but yeah, for the most part, they have been.
Yeah.
All the parties.
Yeah. Yes.
Has there been any sign, any clue, anything that's been found over the 10 years that is solid?
That you would maybe consider a piece of hard evidence
Right.
that would actually, through analyzing it, come up with something that would provide a direction?
Yeah,
No.
nothing.
No. A handful of suspicion, reasonable suspicion. And reasonable suspicion isn't probable cause, obviously, and there hasn't been anything as to develop probable cause as far as the criminal side of it. And there hasn't really been anything hard evidence-wise to place Deorr somewhere, in this vicinity other than, the statements from the 4 people that were here with Deorr.
There's been several reports over the years that bones have been found, and that could it be Deorr? Have you had any leads on bones or any human remains?
So so we found a lot of bones searching over the years, and how we handle that, we do good photographs and we send them to a anthropologist, and they'll either say yay or nay. I need to hold it and look at it. So the only, and most of the time they tell you to go try again. It's not human. So we did have one where they requested it, we sent it in, they did a microfilm section, and they said, we cannot rule it out not being a young human. So that bone then went to Quantico to try to do some DNA.
To the FBI?
Yes. And that was nothing there, so.
They couldn't, it wasn't.
Yeah,
That was
couldn't
negative
extract
results.
any. It was a pretty small piece of bone. But yeah, we found that's kind of a normal part of the search. You come up, you find, and there's a lot of bones, especially in the lower area here. And then you take pictures of them and send them to an expert, and they'll say either yay or nay.
So most of the time they're animal bones,
Yes.
or all of the time it sounds like
Yeah.
they've been animal bones.
Yeah.
What about the theory that an old piece of clothing was found that may have been ripped by an animal attacking Deorr inside the clothing?
So everything that we have sent to the lab and had analyzed, and has not produced anything.
So if it's suspicious, or you think there might be something, you send it to a lab, and basically everything.
Yeah, we definitely try to confirm. One is, like bone-wise, is it animal? Is it human? Is it animal? And then, like he said, it was kind of inconclusive whether it was human, so they sent it further for further testing, and that further testing was negative too. The clothing, same thing. You send it, you send it to a specialized facility such as the lab, ISP lab, or the FBI, and they basically analyze it, and then they try to be able to determine if it's related or not to the specific individuals involved up here as far as DNA or blood sample type stuff, but nothing has led us further really.
What about the theory about a wild animal? Could it have been a wild animal, and are there a lot of wild animals in this area?
There is.
You can never rule that out, but realistically, I don't know. I've lived here all my life.
Statistically,
And statistically, it's
it's
pretty rare.
pretty rare.
Because you'd find some sort of remain, right?
Not necessarily.
We would hope to, but it could be carried
Yeah.
further than this search perimeter is, has been. And I mean, a 2-year-old being carried off, you would expect to find some sort of evidence of Deorr being left behind, drop a boot, clothing, material, that type of thing. But we're into the 10-year realm of it, and for things of that nature to last that long, every year the window gets smaller for evidence like that.
Has it been helpful, hurtful to have all of these sleuths weigh in on this? I know we talked about this a few years ago, where these theories come out and the public gets hopeful that it might be something. What have you experienced with the web sleuth community?
So, well, obviously history's going to be the final determination of that, whether that was helpful or not. So far it hasn't produced anything that I would say has been beneficial. It tends to create a lot of debris that we need to go sort through. Once in a while, occasionally they generate a realistic lead, that we'll run with this and see where it goes. Like I said, it's hard to comment on that because we don't know how this is going to end up and how exactly all that's going to play into it.
I know with Steve, he's for 10 years, Steve's dealt with that, and there's a lot of time you waste because we obviously run down all those leads, and a lot of those leads are just exactly that. They're people's ideas, theories, and speculation, and there's nothing tangible to go on. But occasionally, even with those, sometimes they have an idea that we hadn't had yet, and it leads us to, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe we should look in that direction, or maybe we should do this or that. But for the most part, at the end of the day, you can almost rule the majority of them out as a lot of speculative ideas and theories, and they haven't led us anywhere this time.
Are the parents still in touch with law enforcement and Isaac? Like, do they take your calls if you need to talk to them?
Oh yeah,
they always have.
Yep.
I mean, I haven't spoken with them for quite a while, but they always have.
Right.
No, it was around last year, wasn't it, when they were up here, and Mom was actually up here. So I mean, we spoke to Jessica, Grandma stays in touch with us. I had a text today from her. Obviously, this is close to the reunion of 10 years of when Deorr went missing. So obviously, it's brought up those, people thinking about Deorr and reaching out to us as well. But.
So what do you do 10 years later? I mean, do you feel like you've kind of exhausted every avenue?
You always take and look at what you've done and where you've been, and the searches that you've done. You look at it, you see what the results were from that, and you take that information and it's been a lot of it now, and then you kind of formulate, where do we go from here? And I don't see an ending.
We've never given up, and we're not ever going to give up on until we can close it out, and that's obviously recovery of Deorr. Whether he he turns into a teenager in California and walks in somewhere and hey, it's Deorr, or we find some sort of remnants or evidence or remains that we can identify as Deorr to close it out as a missing person.
And we do hear those stories where someone's off the map for 20 or 30 years.
Just
and
recently, you see it
appear.
in the news. Hey, here's a person that was missing for 20 years, and they came out of the woodwork. So
obviously, that's the hopeful scenario.
Yeah.
So do you believe that he could have been abducted?
Pretty slim chance.
I personally don't, but again, it's one of those 1%ers that you can't rule out.
No,
So
you can't close that out. You can't 100% commit to one theory and ignore the others. You just can't do that. You have to workable as things
And we're open to all those,
pop
you know,
up.
possibilities. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility, for sure.
I know you're going to hate this question because I've been asked it a lot. But what do you think happened?
I always said I don't know what happened.
Do you have a leading theory?
I'm trying to it's what we've been trying to solve for 10 years is what happened to him. So
I was taught 2 years ago from experienced law enforcement guys that, hey, you get tunnel vision on, and your focus narrows down to what your thoughts or what your speculation is, versus be open-minded and be open to, hey, it could be this. You know, what you think isn't necessarily fact or fiction either, so you have to always keep those avenues open, you know, so that you don't get so focused that you aren't looking over here and you're looking straight ahead the whole time. But the same thing, like Steve, we could speculate we could all speculate on what we think happened, and we'd have 3 different theories of what we think happened, and the public's the same way, only even more so, because, you know, they don't know a lot of the details we do as far as the remote location, the distance from here to anywhere, as far as, you know, this is a remote campground, and at that time there weren't, I want to say there was one other family camped at the reservoir, an older couple.
And that was it.
And that was it as far as people in here. So far, as far as abduction, yeah, people coming in and out of here, I don't have a lot to support that theory as much as other theories as far as, and you also look at the history of other missing person cases, other children in the age group, like a 2-year-old disappearing, and history's shown us they've recovered, you know, evidence in solved cases that same thing similar to this, and the evidence was found within a pretty close proximity where that person went missing. Even though you, as thorough as you searched it, you come back and you find something right there later. So you can't rule that out either, and that's why we keep coming back here, obviously.
Do you think the parents and Isaac know more than they're saying?
you know, I'm not sure I'm going to speculate on that.
And that's what it would be with
that'd be a
speculation.
speculation
Yeah.
for me to comment on that.
They don't have anything, even reasonable suspicion. There's no probable cause or nothing to support that. So it's just like everybody else. It would be something we'd speculate on. And
Did it hurt having Bob Walton pass away in the middle of before Deorr was found?
I personally don't think so, because he never really gave any tangible theories or evidence or anything other than he was one of the 4 people here, and was a witness that Deorr was here. So that's one of your 4 people that put Deorr here.
Right.
And he was great grandpa. So I don't think so. And up until his death, law enforcement had talked to him multiple times, and nothing really ever changed with him and his demeanor.
Right. So is Bonneville and the FBI still involved?
If we need something from either one of those agencies to give us a hand with something or whatever,
You can call them.
Yeah.
And Bonneville's always been attached to it, because that's where the whole family basically lived, and I think Ammon and their field office, and we had a lot of help from them with the investigation all the way up until now. Obviously, we can call them right now. They have a lot of investment in the case too, as far as the investigation side of it, as far as talking to people and family and friends and that stuff. One of their detectives, he's since retired. He's went to ISP, but he's kind of still married to it, just like Steve. They've been in it from the get-go, and they're always open to it, and they keep track of, when they see something pop up and that sort of thing, social media wise.
And you're still involved with search and rescue.
Yeah.
You had hoped by the time you were out of office last year that Deorr would have been found. So what was it like for you leaving office and having this still open?
So, well, when this first happened, I was in the chief deputy spot, and John was the sergeant. And when it first happened, he's got a lot of search and rescue experience, so he organized a lot of the searches and things like that. So, obviously you would like to have it done by now, especially for the family. But it hasn't happened, and it's just going to continue on, and I'm okay with that. Things change, It's time to take a different role in it and let somebody else do the role you had. That's sometimes a good thing.
So where do you go from here?
Well, I'm fortunate as the sheriff now that Steve's still part of our search and rescue organization. So basically, that ties him to me as far as the sheriff's office. So he's still got a vested interest in this case for sure, and he's still he's the go-to guy for this case, and so that's a benefit for me, obviously, and his knowledge. He's got a lot of knowledge of what he's run down in the last 10 years, which I wasn't a part of. So whenever I get a question, usually I have to call Steve and say, hey, did we do this or did we do that? Because I wasn't involved, so I don't know a lot of that stuff. But same thing, the closure for the family. Obviously, we'd love to solve this one for family closure, but there's a lot of public out there, and it's not just here locally; it's nationwide. This took a big
Worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
This took a huge, it put a huge picture out in the communities, and there's a lot of people still follow it every day and talk about it, and if nothing else, to be able to solve that for those people too, it'd be great.
Any idea how many tips you've had over the past decade?
I mean, you probably have to break that up into what would be you would consider maybe legitimate, or things that you can actually run down. It's in the hundreds.
But overall, probably calls and messages, thousands, just people want to reach out.
Maybe close to that.
Yeah.
We're still actively involved in this case. I don't know that you would call it a cold case because it's 10 years old, but it's a missing person, and it I think it hits closer to home for a lot of people, a lot of families, because it's a 2-year-old missing person, and people take a larger vested interest in children than adults. I don't think it would have been near as publicized or as popular as it has been if it would have been an adult versus a child. So I think that tends to keep it going. The other thing is, I think people, when they continue to talk about it and bring it up, it continues to keep people thinking about it. It hasn't been forgotten or gone away for sure.
You still want people to call in with tips or information?
100%, yep. It could be a pretty minute, small thing that could break the whole thing into being solved. So yeah, for sure. And we wouldn't rule out anything as far as a tip to look at. So,
are there any misconceptions you want to clear up?
As far as commenting on that, a lot of people have their own ideas and have formed their own opinions, and anything we say isn't necessarily going to change that. I don't know that I really comment on that, go that direction with it.
It'd just be great to have something more tangible as far as evidentiary than just somebody's theory or idea, and everybody's entitled to them and everybody has them, and almost everyone's different, so we spend all our time just chasing down what people think versus something that's more tangible. I think it would be a lot easier as far as the time that's involved to run down those questions, which a lot of them are speculative.
Right. And there we have the two sheriffs who have been working the case. I have to tell you that after we were done with that interview, my photographer Jordan and I went and shot some video, and these two guys kind of split off and they went looking. Sheriff Penner had like a rake or a shovel type tool. He went down by the creek, and it's if every time they go up there, they look, they try to find something. I cannot imagine such a daunting task. It is so huge, and that the conditions sometimes aren't the best. There were flies. I got bit on the back of my neck by some insect. It's not ideal. It's hot to go out there and do these searches, but obviously it's completely worth it. And Sheriff Penner has told me multiple times over the years that when someone is missing, you go look for them. You go find them. And he's also said the mountains can hold a secret. And that mountain is holding some sort of secret. Now, I did reach out for statements, as I said. Deorr Kunz, Vernal, the dad, his attorney, Alan Browning, told me that Vernal is 1,000% had nothing to do with his son's disappearance. He's had to move out of Idaho Falls to have somewhat of a normal life if he can. And he just has been, according to the attorney, has been slaughtered by the public and by the media, and that's why he's not doing an interview today. Jessica did send a statement to me. She said each of the 3,647 days feels the same as the pain of missing him. It is still as real as day one. I love and miss my son every day. And Trina Clegg, Deorr's grandmother, sent me this statement. She said, on July 10th, 2015, I lost a part of my heart when I received a devastating phone call from my daughter. Mom, we cannot find baby Deorr. These words and the sound of her voice still echo daily. The drive to Lador was like hours and hours passed, and then losing service to be able to reach Jessica in the campground and also the Lemhi County Sheriff's Office. The realization baby Deorr was truly missing was immediately seen in my daughter's eyes, and the pain of the unknown. We still go to the campground, and many ask why, and I would tell them this is a very special place for me and my family when I was young, and sometimes the peace of the area gives me hope that I will see baby Deorr again. Our family is still grieving every day and do our best to stay positive for something to develop in this case. Every time we search the area, there is something found. Sheriff Penner sends out for further information, which gives us hope. We continue to have numerous great members of law enforcement and David Marshburn who have the skills, training, and heart to continue to work on this case with one thing most important to them, Deorr J. Kunz. This past year has been extremely hard with Detective Carl Noah and Sheriff Steve Penner retiring, as we have felt we have lost some communication with the new detective and new sheriff for searches and anything new that comes up or just to touch base on the case. I know they are still involved in my grandson's case, and I truly know they will do anything and everything they can to find closure in this case. As a family, we still pray every day for an answer to what happened 10 years ago that still haunts me with heartfelt pain and grief, missing our sweet baby Deorr. It is still the same from day one to now. The facts remain the same. Baby Deorr is still missing, and there has been zero evidence of how at this time. If baby Deorr hears this, please know, sweet, handsome Deorr, you have a very devoted family that loves and cares for you every day and hope one day you will come home. And then she concludes with a prayer. Heavenly Father, our entire family comes before you with heavy hearts, acknowledging the deep sorrow of our missing baby Deorr. We ask for your loving embrace to continue to surround everyone with the love and support of baby Deorr and grant them the peace that surpasses all understanding. May they find solace in the memories of Jessica and Vernal's Lil Man and strength in your presence. Help them navigate this difficult journey of the unknown and grief, knowing that you are with them, holding them close. Grant them moments of peace amidst the storm of their emotions, and may your love be a constant source of comfort and hope. We pray this in your name. Amen. That is from Trina Clegg. She mentioned there that Penner finds items and sends them to the lab. There have been bones found over the years at that campsite. They have been tested. Nothing has come back. There, as they said in that interview, the detectives or the sheriffs and myself, that nothing solid has come from this. And so we wait, and we hope that something will. So with that, let's get to your questions. Before we do that, big thanks to newspapers.com. They are our amazing partners here on Courtroom Insider. I've spent this week researching not only this case, but other things in preparation for CrimeCon. I'm doing a panel with Marsha Clark. We're using some stuff from newspapers.com. You can go on newspapers.com and search missing children, search Lemhi County, search Timber Creek Campground. You can search anything. You'll end up down a deep hole searching for all sorts of stuff because there's so many incredible things on there. Over a billion newspaper pages on there. Go check them out. And our thanks to newspapers.com for supporting and helping us here on Courtroom Insider. And they're going to be at CrimeCon from what I understand. So it should be good. All right, we have a couple shout outs here. Ben Watson, Cheryl Dyer, thank you for watching. Roberta, Christina Marie, Rose Wagner, Kim Dobbins, Michael Horton, Sheena Spencer, Spencer Jackson. Hey, we have two Spencers there. And Alan Reno. Thank you all very much for watching. So glad you're with us tonight. Cities, Brisbane, Australia. Love Brisbane. Rupert, Idaho. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about you all in Rupert. We'll probably talk about this next week on Courtroom Insider. A quadruple homicide has just rocked the community of Rupert, Twin Falls area. Just been awful. One man is in custody, charged with 4 counts of murder. I hope it makes no sense. It doesn't. But to those of you in Rupert and in that area, thinking about you this week. Omaha, Nebraska, Poole, England. Switzerland, Pocatello, Manti, Utah, San Diego, Las Vegas, and Clinton, New Jersey. Okay, we have some questions. Was Deorr ever actually at the campground? Well, we kind of talked about that. That is a theory that he never was, that he stayed in Idaho Falls or something in Idaho Falls happened and they got rid of him down here or whatever. But you heard the sheriffs there. They're fairly confident that Deorr was at the campground. When I talked to Isaac, he said, yeah, he was. So did Grandpa Bob. They said he was. So I think that they're pretty confident that he was. Why did the family choose to go somewhere so remote? Oh, I think you mean camping. Well, it had been in Jessica's family. They had been there before. And Robert Walton, he had been there before. He liked to go there. It was a nice place to get away. And I think that's why. I don't think that they were purposely finding somewhere completely out of the way. Maybe they were, but I don't think so. It doesn't indicate. It sounds like they'd been to this campground before and it was really special to the family. Did they search the porta potty at the camping site? Okay, there is an outhouse there, not a porta potty. There is an outhouse there. And from what I'm told, they did drain it, the toilet, and nothing was in there. But yeah, there is an outhouse right there at the site. What was the deal with the ashes in the reservoir? Good question. So somebody had a loved one die, and they took their cremains up to that reservoir because it had been a special place in this family's history. Someone not connected to the case. And they dumped the cremains in the water. And they did not know that a child was missing and that search and rescue crews had been there and that cadaver dogs were there sniffing. So they did send the dogs back up, but then that person came forward and said, my bad, this is what I did. So kind of unfortunate. Are there any mines or bear caves or wolf dens in the area? There are not any mines as far as I know. There are bears, there are wolves, there are mountain lions, there are other wild animals. I don't know about caves or dens. You would think so if there are, but yeah, it's very possible. Nate, what do you think happened to Deorr? I don't know. No idea. I don't. And I would hate to guess and then be completely wrong because that's probably what would happen. But talking with the sheriffs, you heard me ask both of them and they both said, we don't know. That's why we're here. We wish we did know. So do I. I wish we knew. Did Deorr have any siblings? He had Jessica had children with another partner before, but this was the only child with Jessica and Vernal, the two of them together. I believe that Vernal also had a daughter. I know this sounds weird, but there's a documentary about people who go missing in the woods and Bigfoot may have been involved. I know you think I'm crazy, but has anyone considered it? I think you're talking about Missing 411, which is an interesting docuseries. Full disclosure, I participated on it. This was back in 2016, I think. And they talk about people who just vanish from national parks and camping sites. And that is a theory that maybe Bigfoot, some sort of, I don't know, creature may have been involved. I don't know. I don't think you're crazy. I think a lot of people think it. Could the 4 people at the campsite have agreed to kill him and then keep quiet? Well, it's possible. Often it's hard, the more people that are involved, to keep a secret, especially if they start throwing out like plea deals or bargains or whatever. Especially when you've got a married couple and 2 others. You'd think like the 2 others would turn on the couple if they could be in trouble, something. But yeah, it is possible. As they said, anything's possible. Nate, do you think Deorr will ever be found? Oh gosh, I hope so. I say it every year that, man, I hope that next year we don't have to, do 11 years and Deorr's still missing, 12 years, 15 years. I hope. Hope. And I think it could happen. It's happened with other cases before, and I hope it happens here. This is baby Deorr. As you can see, I love the picture of him in the cowboy hat that we've used. There we go. We'll take it full. And tonight we remember him as he disappeared 10 years ago today. It'd be incredible if somehow he is found alive, and maybe he was abducted and someone's been holding on to him and now he's ready to come forward and say, I'm that kid in the camping site. It would be incredible if that was the case. But tonight we remember him and think about that little cute little boy. Here's where you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and YouTube. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you hadn't. We'd sure appreciate that. We will be back next week for another Courtroom Insider, Thursday night, same time, same place. Hope you were here with us, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for watching. Take care.